This episode of Partners Project is brought to you by lynda.com. Want to know where your favorite YouTube stars go to learn their tricks? Lynda.com has tutorials on shooting, editing, special effects, and more. Go to lynda.com/partnersproject for your free 7-day trial right now. What tips can you give other YouTubers who want to make videos like you?
Just do it.
Yeah.
I think it's as simple as that, honestly. I think people focus too much on like having the right equipment and waiting for the right time when you should just go do it and not be afraid to screw up a few times. I think screwing up is a great way to learn. That's how I've learned everything, is by like, there's like some stuff that I will never show anybody from like when I first started. It's awful. So bad. It's so bad it's on a VHS tape. I don't even have a DVD copy of it.
How do you get noticed though, with so many people out there?
I mean, there's definitely several ways to do it. There's not one way to do it. There's you can take the topical route, like I was talking earlier. People love topical content, so you can create something that's like very relevant at that time, and usually if it's packaged well, it'll be seen by lots of people. I also think there's a lot to say about the kind of stuff that's still kind of rare on YouTube, but there's several people in the top 100 starting to kind of branch out and create more narrative content, like little digital shorts and things like that. I think they don't like get 1 million views overnight per se, but in the long run, I think like they have a lot of longevity. So I don't know. I think there's several ways to do it. I only mentioned 2 ways, but there's it's kind of like an unblazed trail. There's like, I think it's fair game.
Yeah, you could create the rules along the way.
Yeah.
So create your own rules, people. Do it. We got a ton of questions on our YouTube channel for you, so I'm just going to start giving people some shout outs. So thank you for those questions. From Socrates Crime asks, what advice do you have for an amateur filmmaker with low funding to make videos as crisp and movie-like as yours? Equipment, software, and all that stuff.
That's a good question. I think people's instinct is to go out and just get a nice camera. I get a lot of questions about what camera I use, and honestly, it has very little to do about that. It does. I mean, your camera does matter, but I think the most important thing is lighting. Understanding like where to put the lights, because a lot of people underestimate the power of lighting and like creating depth. Like you can make a small room look massive, or vice versa, and just knowing where to put those lights and having the right lights. You know, my videos took a big step up in terms of quality when I learned that aspect of filmmaking. So I would say that's probably the first thing to conquer. And then
and so what types of lights do you use?
Like a variation of lights. I don't use like any one specific kind of lights. I use Mole Richardson brand lights. Those are like pretty much the standard for film and TV.
Yeah.
They are, I have like Fresnels, I have Scoops,
Tell us about the lighting structure, how you would put all the lights to get that cool depth vibe.
Well, there's not necessarily a rule. It's more about just getting a couple of crappy lights and some little accessories to be able to contain them and direct them where you want them, because you don't just want a light that's just gonna like light up the whole room. It's about like having a light and being able to contain it and direct it to a place, and then not so much like putting it in a specific place every time, but being able to look at a room and knowing like, okay, if I put a light here and shine it here, it'll make it look like this. And it's not anything that like you can learn any other way than just like doing it. You just have to kind of like jump in and like screw up a few times. So.
What kind of camera do you use?
The Canon 7D.
Dan Deb asks, what kind of color correction do you use?
Everybody's gonna laugh at this one. I just use the basic Final Cut 3-way color corrector. You know, I have some friends that are like complete geniuses on like actual like big time color correcting. I don't really know that much about it. I just feel like I know what I like and I color that way. So it's very simple, but
it works.
I think honestly the trick is people try to like, people just want to put a filter on things and make it work, but the trick is knowing, it's like shooting for the color correction, not just putting your footage in there and like coloring it to look good. That'll never work. You have to like, it's like I was saying earlier, you have to know where to put the lights and like know how you're going to color it ahead of time almost for it to get that, to pop. You kind of have to do things a certain way. You're going to spend the same amount of time working on stuff either on the front end or the back end, and if you do things right on the front end, which you should, you'll spend less time on the back end.
What inspires your videos? From Violet NHZ.
Well, I mean, I think inspiration can come from anything. I think it can be a conversation with a friend, somebody says something and it sparks an idea, or it can be, I don't know, for me it's literally anything. Like I have a whole section of my ideas folder that is literally just like random things I heard outside of context by walking by a stranger, and I'm just like I have no idea what they were talking about, but it just sounded really funny not knowing the context it was in, and I'll just like write it down and like I'll use it somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I think it can be anything.
This question is from The Creasy. How did you come up with the character of Mr. Timm? Timm. How do you pronounce
Timm. Well, I have an ideas folder of just like random ideas and scene ideas and line ideas, and I have in there. There's just a bunch of random little one-liners that are super weird that nobody would ever say in real life, and but that I think are really funny. And I was scrolling through one day looking for ideas, and I was like looking at, like, I couldn't help but notice how many of these like one-liners that I would never use were in here. And I was thinking, I need a really crazy character that can say this stuff to people in real life, that people, because like I think some of them are like super quotable, but like no normal person would ever say it. So that's kind of how Mr. Timm was born.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, lynda.com. Do you want to learn how to be a YouTube pro? Well, go to lynda.com/partnersproject for your free 7-day trial right now and learn from the best. See you soon.